Cruising is often sold as the ultimate stress-free vacation. Endless buffets, sparkling pools, Broadway-style shows, and exotic ports of call. But what happens when the very thing meant to be your escape becomes the setting for a health scare? That's exactly what passengers aboard the Silver Dawn experienced on their recent 12-night sailing from Southampton.
Hello, I'm Francesca, your personal steward on the cruise ship. I've been working in cruises for about 7 years, and I'll give you precise instructions and useful...
Reports started surfacing mid-voyage. Several guests began experiencing nausea, stomach cramps, and fatigue, classic symptoms of gastrointestinal illness. At first, many thought it was seasickness or maybe just too much rich cruise food. But as the numbers grew, whispers of an outbreak began circulating among passengers. Crew members quietly rolled out cleaning carts, elevators smelled of disinfectant, and suddenly those hand sanitizer stations everyone used to ignore became mandatory checkpoints. For context, gastrointestinal outbreaks, especially norovirus, are one of the most common cruise health issues. According to the CDC, norovirus accounts for over 90% of reported gastrointestinal outbreaks on cruise ships worldwide. It spreads shockingly fast because just a few viral particles, sometimes as few as 18, are enough to infect a person. To put that into perspective, a single sneeze releases around 100,000 droplets. Now imagine a buffet where hundreds of people touch the same serving spoon, or a theater packed with passengers sitting shoulder to shoulder. It's practically the perfect environment for germs to spread. Silversea announced enhanced sanitation protocols immediately. Surfaces were disinfected several times a day. Crew served food at buffets instead of allowing self-service. Passengers were asked to avoid handshakes or close contact. Entertainment events were subtly scaled back to reduce crowding. But here's something most passengers didn't realize. Because the Silver Dawn was sailing from Southampton and not a U.S. port, the outbreak didn't have to be reported to the CDC. In the U.S., any outbreak affecting more than 3% of passengers must be logged publicly. That's why you often hear about norovirus cases on ships leaving from Miami, Galveston, or Seattle. But outside U.S. jurisdiction, cruise lines are far less transparent. Guests on board are essentially relying on the cruise line's goodwill to get the full picture. Silversea did something unusual, though. They encouraged passengers with health concerns to reschedule at no penalty. That's a big deal because cruise lines typically have strict cancellation rules. A last-minute cancellation can cost you up to 100% of your fare. By waiving penalties, Silversea signaled just how seriously they were taking the outbreak and how much they wanted to protect their reputation. Practical tips for cruisers worried about outbreaks: disinfect your cabin immediately. Studies show TV remotes, light switches, and bathroom handles harbor the most germs. Wipe them down before unpacking. Skip the buffet on embarkation day. It's the highest traffic meal of the cruise and the most likely place for germs to spread early. Opt for a sit-down restaurant instead. Wash your hands for 20 seconds. Not a quick rinse. Hand sanitizer is helpful, but doesn't kill all viruses. Soap and water remain the gold standard. Travel with probiotics or electrolyte packets. These small items can make a huge difference if you do get sick. The irony of cruise travel is that while ships are often portrayed as floating petri dishes, outbreaks are still relatively rare compared to the sheer number of sailings. Millions of passengers cruise every year without incident. But when it does happen, the story spreads fast, both on board and in the headlines. And for those caught in the middle, it can turn a dream vacation into days of isolation in a cabin the size of a walk-in closet. This outbreak is a reminder that even luxury cruise lines aren't immune to health crises. Silversea markets itself as ultra-luxury, with fares often exceeding $500 per night. But viruses don't discriminate between budget cruisers and passengers sipping champagne and sweets. Everyone's at risk when the right conditions align. And while passengers were dealing with health scares, another change was making waves across the industry: the quiet disappearance of perks once considered essential. Let's shift gears to another headline making waves: Celebrity Cruises is scaling back its Premium Access Pass. This package was marketed as the golden ticket for savvy cruisers. For an extra $15 to $40 per person per day, passengers could unlock perks that made them feel like VIPs. An exclusive embarkation day lunch in a specialty restaurant, reserved seating in the theater, and a general sense of, I don't have to wait in line with everyone else. But starting next year, two of the most popular perks, the embarkation lunch and reserved seating, are gone. Celebrity says the reason is limited capacity. In other words, too many passengers bought the package, and suddenly it wasn't so exclusive anymore. Imagine a priority line that's longer than the regular line. That's essentially what happened. What remains in the package still sounds appealing. Premium Wi-Fi, 24/7 room service, priority luggage delivery, express debarkation, and a premium drinks package. For some, it's still worth the money. Wi-Fi alone can cost $20 a day, and a drinks package can easily exceed $70 daily. For heavy internet users or cocktail enthusiasts, the math still checks out. But here's the hidden truth. Cruise lines across the board are shrinking perks while maintaining prices. Why? Rising costs. Fuel has nearly doubled since pre-pandemic times. Labor is more expensive. Food inflation means every steak dinner served at sea cost the company more than it did a few years ago. Yet cruise lines know that if they raise base fares too sharply, they'll scare away customers. So instead, they quietly chip away at extras. Examples beyond Celebrity include room service fees after midnight on several mainstream lines, specialty coffees in the buffet that used to be free, now classified as premium, cabin service reductions, housekeeping now often once a day instead of twice, port fees passed directly to guests instead of absorbed in the fare. Luxury lines aren't immune either. Silver Sea, Regent Seven Seas, and Seabourn pride themselves on all-inclusive luxury. But even there, guests are noticing smaller wine lists, fewer premium spirits, and fewer staff per passenger ratio compared to 5 years ago. So what does this mean for passengers? You need to become a smarter cruiser. Do the math. If you drink only one glass of wine a night, you don't need the full drinks package. Buy a bottle and share it. It's cheaper. Book early. Some perks remain available if you lock in before cutoff dates. Celebrity still honors the full package for sailings before August 1st next year. Know your loyalty program. Many frequent cruisers get overlapping perks through loyalty tiers. Diamond level guests on Royal Caribbean, for example, already get free drinks nightly. Paying for a drink package on top of that is wasted money. Here's a fact that may surprise you. Despite these cutbacks, passenger satisfaction surveys remain high. Why? Because cruise lines are masters at distraction. If you're sipping a cocktail while watching a Broadway-style show in the middle of the ocean, you're less likely to notice that your cabin only got serviced once today instead of twice. It's the classic look over here strategy, and it works. But not all changes are bad. Some cruise lines are channeling their creativity in quirky new directions, hoping to capture passenger attention in more memorable ways. Which brings us to perhaps the strangest headline of the week. Sunscreen-flavored ice cream. Yes, you heard correctly. Carnival Cruise Line has teamed up with boutique ice cream brand Van Leeuwen to create a flavor inspired by, of all things, sunscreen. Before you panic, let's be clear. No actual sunscreen is involved. Instead, the recipe uses coconut cream, cocoa butter, and vanilla to evoke that nostalgic scent of sunscreen lotions that remind people of summer vacations. On the surface, this seems like a quirky marketing stunt, but in reality, it's part of a much bigger strategy. Today's cruise lines aren't just selling itineraries, they're selling Instagram moments. Think about it. Roller coasters on ships, infinity pools suspended over the ocean, robot bartenders mixing martinis, and now, ice cream flavors that spark conversation. The goal isn't just to delight passengers, but to get them posting photos and tagging friends. Free social media buzz is worth millions in advertising.
Carnival isn't alone in this strategy.
Royal Caribbean has partnered with Jamie Oliver to offer celebrity chef dining at sea. MSC Cruises teamed up with French chocolatier Jean-Philippe Maury to create dessert bars. Norwegian Cruise Line partnered with Starbucks to bring the brand experience on board. The sunscreen ice cream fits right into this playbook. If online buzz is strong, Carnival might roll out a limited release of the flavor fleet-wide. Imagine ordering a scoop on deck, posting it on TikTok, and watching it go viral. Whether you love or hate the idea, you're talking about Carnival, and that's the point. But while quirky innovations make headlines, the financial side tells a more sobering story. Cruise stocks closed lower on Friday. Carnival down 3%, Royal Caribbean down 4%, Norwegian down 1%, and Viking down 3%. Rising fuel costs, geopolitical tensions, and yes, health outbreaks continue to spook investors. Still, the demand for cruising remains robust. Ships are sailing at over 100% capacity. That's industry talk for cabins fully booked, plus extra passengers in pull-down beds and sofa beds. Travelers are hungry for experiences, and cruises remain one of the best value vacations available. Dining, lodging, entertainment, and transportation all rolled into one fare. Key takeaways for passengers. Don't be afraid to try the quirky stuff, whether it's sunscreen ice cream or robot bartenders. These experiences often become your most memorable cruise stories. Stay health conscious. Outbreaks may be rare, but they do happen. Basic hygiene goes a long way. Don't let shrinking perks ruin your vacation. Focus on what remains unbeatable about cruising. Waking up in a new destination every morning without ever packing or unpacking your suitcase. As the industry evolves, passengers who stay informed and flexible will get the most out of their trips. Outbreaks, perk cutbacks, and gimmicks are all part of the modern cruise landscape. The trick is knowing how to navigate it. And that's the state of cruise news today. Reporting from Virgin Voyages' Brilliant Lady, freshly docked in New York City. More updates tomorrow from the high seas.